So there I was, on the cursed walkway. Nothing ominous about that name. I'd found my way here after falling for a trap in the copy of the witch's house on the outskirts of the Whispering Woods. After carefully making my way through the patterns of spiked traps and collecting some useful items along the way, I climbed a ladder back to the surface and was rejoined by my partner, Elaine. The path seemed straightforward enough, perhaps a bit too straightforward. I was on edge. The game had already trained me to be wary of corners. It loves a good ambush. But at the top of this hill, around this corner, was something I was not expecting. Is that a boulder? What the hell? Fucking run! Shit. Oh, you Elaine, run! No, Elaine! Okay. Oh, what the fuck? I can turn corners? You... Welcome to Cute Souls. Duel Corp, or Core? I don't actually know how it's supposed to be pronounced. I think it's Corp, because there's a period there, but I'll probably mess that up throughout the video, so fair warning. Anyway, Duel Corp is a third-person action RPG developed by Dream Effect Entertainment, which is a two-man dev team, and that fact alone is incredibly impressive considering the depth of the gameplay and the polish in this current alpha build demo that's available. Before we get started, I want to give a special thanks to these dungeon connoisseurs and dungeon architects who have chosen to support me on Patreon. If you want to support this channel, see videos early, and possibly get your name in upcoming videos, stick around till the end to find out how. Now, in Duel Corp, you create a character from what will eventually be 7 different classes, but as of right now, only the knight is available to play around with. There will eventually be a priest, an assassin, a ranger, a mage, and a paladin. You currently don't have a lot of control over character creation. You can choose male or female, but from what I saw, it doesn't alter anything on the character model or stats. So the only customization is the hairstyle and body type. But from the looks of things, this will become a more robust feature in the future. You have to remember that this is an alpha build, not even beta, so there's still a lot of work to be done. And yet, this early build feels incredibly good to play, and the opening area is polished. There's at least an hour or two of content here, depending on your skill and how thorough you want to be with exploration. And even though the Steam page says early access, it's only a free demo, so you can't gripe too much about free. First impressions. I like the 3D pixelated style of the player character, NPCs, and enemies. The cutesy, super deformed designs give Duel Corp its own unique look, but it also doesn't detract from the gameplay, as animations are all really smooth for movement, attacking, and blocking. And the blocking is a major mechanic that I'll get into in a minute. This alpha demo takes place mostly in a forested area, so we don't get a good look at the variations and settings, but the forest looks great. The backgrounds have a plasticky, kind of toy set look to them, which I think lends the game a lot of charm. And all in all, I really like the way this game looks. As for how it plays, well, it's great. Very smooth and responsive. Though the controls may be a little bit jarring at first if you're coming straight off of a Souls game or some other Souls-like. But that's because Duel Corp puts its own spin on the combat mechanics. You have 3 different attacks, a right swing, a left swing, and an overhead swing. These are mapped to the X, B, and Y respectively, if you're playing with an Xbox controller. To block, you hold the right trigger, and can press each of the 3 attack buttons to block in different directions. This is the base of the combat, as enemies attack with the same 3 basic moves that you do. So to block an attack, you'll have to watch their windups and press the appropriate button. On top of that, if you time your block just right, you'll be able to parry the attack, which will stagger low-level enemies, and cause stronger enemies and the first boss to lose their rhythm. If you're quick, you can follow up with a counterattack. You can also deflect and reflect spells apparently, but I couldn't get it to work for me. Aside from that, you can perform rolling attacks and backstabs. There are some elemental effects too, like being set on fire. If this happens, you'll have to roll to put it out. Otherwise, you'll take damage over time. Spells are needed to open up certain paths too, like this bush here that needs to be burned down. My character couldn't use magic, so I had to lure this mage enemy in to burn down the bush for me. Another thoughtful design choice putting that mage there. Most enemies can block your attacks in the same way that you can theirs, so you'll need to keep an eye on not only their attack patterns, but also their blocking. The system's a bit overwhelming at first, but once you get used to it, I think it makes combat pretty engaging, and it feels really satisfying to pull off blocks and counters. It lends the fighting more of a Sekiro-style sword fighting feel than the typical Souls style of just evade or block and wait for openings. The clashing weapons makes combat feel more active. You have a stamina bar that drains with each action you perform, but so do enemies, and it's visible along with their life bar. So watching the enemy's stamina, especially bosses and stronger enemies, will benefit you greatly. Do you want to attempt an attack that might get blocked or dodged? Or just wait to block or counter an enemy so you can deplete their stamina, which will leave them open for a combo. It's these kinds of strategic choices that make the combat so engaging. But all of this is just the combat basics. You can also add up to 4 talents to your character to give bonuses, such as adding extra damage to one-handed weapons, or depleting enemy energy when you parry their attacks, or just increasing certain stats like strength or vitality. You can also outfit your character with up to 4 abilities, such as a charge move, which isn't only useful for combat. You can also use it to quickly move past certain traps or run away from pursuing enemies. There are special attack abilities as well, such as Whirlwind, which my character didn't have the stats to use, but dropped off of this skeleton enemy before the first boss. Speaking of my character stats, I spent the majority of the demo using my, souls? Actually, I think this currency is just money. But anyway, I mostly used it for buying talents and gear, so I only leveled up once and was still able to beat the demo without too much trouble. You've got 4 equipment slots for a weapon, a piece of armor, a secondary weapon or shield, and an accessory, which came in the form of rings, such as the Ring of Mountain Blood, which granted +2 vitality, or the Ring of Virtuous Resolve, which gave +2 strength. You've also got the little lore descriptions that people have come to expect from Souls-likes here too. The final layer to the combat is the companion system. There are computer-controlled characters who can join you on your journey. The first is a healer named Elaine. You can also unlock a flame sword swinging, fireball slinging battle mage named Annabelle. Elaine can join you once you find the hideout area, but Annabelle needs to be defeated first. Afterwards, she'll show up in the item shop, and you can ask her to join you. I think there might be others in the demo too, but I only found these 2. There's also this guy trapped in this cell outside of the secret hut. Maybe he's one? But I couldn't figure out how to free him, so I don't know. The game will also feature online co-op later in development. In fact, the devs are currently working on a multiplayer playtest, so we may see that feature added within the coming months. Exploration felt satisfying. There's at least one secret area in the demo, and there are a number of branching paths that lead to special items. The level design, at least in this opening forest area, was mostly linear, but it still felt satisfying because of the layouts. You were blocked off from different areas and had to follow a certain path to get through, but you could still see through the trees, or see different elevations with a glint of an item or a view of an enemy enticing you to find a way around. Duel Corp really does a good job at drawing your attention to different areas of the level so that you make sure to explore properly. And that's not only the mark of a good Souls-like, it's the mark of a well-designed game. I found all the areas and 24 out of 29 of the items on my first playthrough. I only defeated 2 out of 4 of the optional elite enemies though, so there were definitely some nooks and crannies that I didn't fully explore. As I sort of mentioned earlier, there's a little safe haven town with a few NPCs in it that felt pretty cozy, as well as a witch's hut out in the forest, which depending on what door you take exiting will lead to the really weird secret area with an empty copy of the witch's house. This is how I fell into the trap I was talking about in the beginning of the video. It was really neat to find that other hut at first, and it adds a layer of whimsy and surrealism to the game that I think is sorely missing in some Souls-likes that just like to take the copy-paste approach to design and mechanics without putting their own spin on the world. There are piles of candles around that act as your bonfire and checkpoints, and enemies respawn whenever you rest at these, naturally. You've got quick items, like a vial of dispersion, which is basically an Estus flask. You start with 2, but can find or buy more. The Moonlit flask replenishes your magic. And speaking of magic, there are spells to find, but my character wasn't built for casting. I could have saved all my currency to possibly try to level my magic stats, but I think I'd rather wait for the devs to release the magic classes. The demo has 2 bosses, and they were both fun to fight. The first one, known as the is a human-like enemy that will really get you acquainted with the blocking and parrying mechanics of the game if you hadn't been invested in them from the start. The second is a larger boss enemy that requires you to make more use of your dodge skill, which is great to see because I hope it means we'll get some variation with different bosses and have to utilize different skills. Each boss had 2 phases as well, where they changed up their attack patterns. The only criticism that I can think of is with the AoE attacks. It seems like the hitboxes extend well beyond the visual effects, like these magical orbs that the first boss throws. I mean, look at that. I'm well outside the range of that effect. I don't actually have a problem with how big the AoE range is, it's just that I feel like the visuals should correlate with that. The second boss's stomp attacks are the same way. Looks like I'm well outside of the range, but I still get hit. I feel like there needs to be more visual information on screen to make this feel less cheap. But, you know, that's really it. Everything else felt great, and I was genuinely disappointed when the demo ended. I wanted to see where we were headed next, especially with a city being the next area. Is this going to be a bustling NPC center or an abandoned Souls-like kind of city? Guess we'll have to wait for another update or the game's eventual entrance into early access to find out. What's available right now adds up to a satisfying taste of what's to come for Duel Corp. I've got this thing wishlisted and am eagerly awaiting any updates the dev throws our way. Cute Souls may be its style, but Duel Corp has a lot more going on mechanically that makes it stand out from the pack of Souls-likes that are out there in the indie space. It's very much worth your time. And that's it for this video. Hit the like button if you liked it, and let me know in the comments what you think of Duel Corp, or the Souls-like genre in general, or just, you know, whatever's on your mind. Also, subscribe to the channel. And down in the description, you can find a link to the Duel Corp Steam page, as well as my Twitter and Patreon. If you want to support this channel, you can do so on Patreon. Just $1 a month gets you access to new videos a day or two before they're made public on YouTube. And if you donate $5 or more, I'll put your name in upcoming videos. So click the Patreon link if you're interested in any of that. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Duel Corp. Check it out. Dungeon Chill. Out.